Welcome back to the Technology Pulse. I'm Rick from DALY, and you're listening to DAILY's Tech in 10, where we give you the biggest tech stories in bite-sized chunks. Because trust me, nobody has time for hour-long podcasts anymore. We've all got places to be, people to see, and honestly, my attention span tends to max out around the 10-minute mark anyway. This time we've got a doozy of an episode for you. We're talking about something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Apple and Google playing nice together. Apple is reportedly nearing a $1 billion a year deal to license Google's Gemini AI to completely revamp Siri. And before you ask, yes, Siri desperately needs that revamp. We've all been there. Hey Siri, call mom. And she's like, playing Bomb by System of a Down. No, Siri, no. And then we're going to dive into something a little more sinister, your vehicle. Specifically, how your vehicle is basically a rolling surveillance device that's collecting your data and sharing it with companies you've never even heard of. It's like having a chatty Uber driver who won't stop talking about you behind your back, except you bought the Uber driver for $40,000. So grab your tinfoil hat, or maybe just a regular hat, we're not conspiracy theorists here, and let's pulse into it. All right, let's talk about this Apple-Google deal, because honestly, this is like watching your divorced parents show up to Thanksgiving dinner and actually getting along. It's weird, it's unexpected, and you're not quite sure how to feel about it. So here's the tea, and yes, I just use tea unironically. I'm hip with the kids. Apple is nearing a deal worth approximately $1 billion per year to license Google's Gemini AI. The goal? To completely overhaul Siri's architecture. And this isn't just a fresh coat of paint, folks. This is a full-on Chip and Joanna Gaines renovation. We're talking about the biggest transformation for Siri since its launch over a decade ago. Now, let me put that billion-dollar figure in perspective. Yes, I could fund a rocket to Mars and still have change leftover money per year. Right, Uncle Elon? Under this deal, Siri's going to get proactive and generative AI features that'll make your current Siri look like a flip phone at an iPhone convention. Meanwhile, Google Gemini gets access to hundreds of millions of users worldwide and a coveted presence in Apple's ecosystem. It's a win-win. It's like a buddy cop movie where both cops are actually, competent. Here's where it gets really interesting from a technical standpoint. And don't worry, I'll keep this in English, not engineer speak. Apple is expected to host this Gemini-derived model within its own private cloud compute infrastructure. Translation: Apple gets to maintain its famous privacy standards while leveraging Google's language technology. It's kind of like Apple saying, hey Google, you make a great cake, but we're using our own kitchen and our own security system to bake it. Apple gets the recipe, but they control the environment. Smart move, don't you think? But here's what really excites me about this deal, and this is where it gets bigger than just Apple and Google. This collaboration signals a massive shift forward toward a more open ecosystem. For years, we've watched tech giants act like rival kingdoms, building their walled gardens and refusing to play nice with each other. Apple had its thing, Google had its thing, Microsoft had its thing, and we, the consumers, we're stuck in the middle trying to make everything work together like we're digital diplomats negotiating peace treaties between our devices. But now we're starting to see collaboration, actual collaboration. We're seeing tech giants realize that maybe, just maybe, working together creates better products than trying to do everything in-house. This could set a precedent. If Apple and Google, two of the biggest tech rivals in history, can collaborate on AI, what does that mean for everyone else? Could we see Microsoft and Meta teaming up? Could Amazon and Apple work together? This isn't just a business deal. This is potentially the beginning of an AI collaboration revolution that could lead to an absolute explosion of innovation. Remember the space race to the moon? That was competition, and it pushed innovation. But the International Space Station? That's collaboration, and it's been orbiting for decades with contributions from multiple nations, and only a few leaks here and there. The AI race might be shifting from a sprint to a relay race where companies pass the baton to each other. And personally, I'm all for it. All right, buckle up for this next segment, pun absolutely intended, because we're about to talk about something that should honestly creep you out just a little bit. Your vehicle is spying on you. Now, before you run outside and yell at your Honda Civic, let me explain. Modern cars, especially the fancy AI-powered ones, are collecting all kinds of data about you. Lots of data. We're not just talking about your odometer reading. We're talking about your driving habits, your location history, and get this, even biometric data like voice and facial recognition. You got to realize your vehicle knows where you go, how fast you drive, how hard you brake, and possibly even what you look like when you're singing along to Taylor Swift at a red light. Companies like Tesla, which, let's be honest, is basically a computer with wheels, along with Kia, Hyundai, Ford, and others are collecting all this data. And here's where it gets spicy. They're not just keeping it to themselves. They're sharing it with third-party companies. Companies that provide AI technology to these car manufacturers apparently have access to your data, your driving patterns, your location, your habits, and here's the kicker. In many cases, you never explicitly consented to this. It's kind of like if you hired a house cleaner and then found out they were taking notes about everything in your home and selling that information to furniture companies. Oh, by the way, this family has an old couch. You better send them some targeted ads for some sectionals. Except in this case, it's not your couch. It's your life, your daily routines, your private information. And quite frankly, this brings up a huge moral question that we as a society need to grapple with. Is it okay for these companies to have access to such intimate data without clear, explicit consent? Because here's the thing. When you buy a vehicle, you're thinking about gas mileage, safety ratings, whether it has a good sound system. You're not thinking, gee, I wonder which third-party AI companies will have access to my facial recognition data. This is serious, and quite frankly, it gets worse. Remember General Motors, good old GM? Well, the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, the folks who are supposed to protect consumers, just banned GM for 5 years from disclosing data collected from drivers. Why? Because GM was accused of not getting proper consent before sharing that driver data with insurance companies. And those insurance companies, they were using that data to set rates. Let me repeat that. Your vehicle manufacturer was potentially sharing your driving data with insurance companies who then used it to decide how much you should pay for insurance without your knowledge and without your consent. That's not just creepy, that's a fundamental violation of privacy and trust. Now, to be fair, there are legitimate uses for this data. AI in vehicles can improve safety features, can optimize traffic patterns, and even save lives through collision avoidance technology. The data itself isn't inherently evil. But, and this is a big but, no pun intended, there needs to be transparency. There needs to be consent. There needs to be control given back to the consumers about their own information. You should know what data your vehicle collects. You should know who has access to it. And you should have the power to say, no thanks, I'd rather not share that, without losing access to basic features of a vehicle you purchased. Because at the end of the day, it's your vehicle, your data, and your life. All right, let's go ahead and bring this home with Daly's Take, where we're connecting these stories to what matters for your organization and what Daly is doing to stay ahead of the curve. First, let's go ahead and talk about that Apple-Google collaboration, because this is where Daly is absolutely in our element. We're not just watching this AI collaboration revolution from the sidelines, folks. We're actively participating in it. Daly's been partnering with organizations like Apple who are expanding their AI capabilities. And why does this matter? Because when tech giants collaborate, they create ecosystems that organizations can plug into and enhance. We're building the bridges that connect these technologies to real-world applications in the public sector and the private sector. When Apple overhauls Siri with Google's Gemini, that's not just about better voice commands. That's about creating more intuitive AI interfaces that organizations can leverage for customer service, for automation, for efficiency. And guess what? Daly is positioned right at that intersection, helping organizations integrate these advancing technologies into their operations. Now, about this whole vehicle surveillance situation, and really the broader issue of data collection, that's where Daly's expertise in data protection and security technology becomes absolutely critical. At Daly, we believe in something radical. People and organizations should have control over their own data. Whether you're a vehicle manufacturer collecting telematics data, a healthcare provider managing patient information, or an educational system tracking student behavior, you have a responsibility to protect that data. Not just because regulations say you have to, though they do, but because it's the right thing to do. That's why Daily is invested heavily in data protection and security technology. We work with a variety of partners that talk about encryption protocols that would make a cryptographer weep tears of joy. Our strategic partners are constantly talking about consent management systems that put the control back into organizations' hands. And we work with some really fine folks that put out security architecture that doesn't just meet compliance standards, it exceeds them. Organizations need partners that understand data protection isn't just an IT checkbox. It's a fundamental commitment to respecting the people who trust you with their information. And that's exactly what Daily and our partners provide. We help organizations navigate the complex world of data governance, implement robust security measures, and build systems that are both innovative and respectful of privacy. And that wraps up this episode of Tech in 10. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave us a review, tell your tech-savvy friends, or your tech-challenged friends who need someone to explain this stuff to them. Look, we're here for everyone. Once again, this is Rick from Daily on Tech in 10, reminding you to stay curious, stay informed, and for the love of all things digital, read the terms and conditions before you sign them. Until next time, keep pulsing.